We have ourselves some big news out of the Montreal Canadiens, and I apologize for this video coming out so late. I only had 3 hours of sleep last night. I slept past my alarm, so I was not able to get up properly to make this video on time, but we do have ourselves some really nice updates as the Montreal Canadiens have agreed to terms on a 3-year entry-level contract that starts in 2024-2025 and ends in 2027 with forward Florian Xhekaj. Let's go, baby. They put themselves the graphic, and yeah, I mean, you can see it right here. Contract de 3 ans. Very, very nice. And if you scroll down here to the article, let's read this in its entirety. The GM of the Montreal Canadiens, Kent Hughes, announced Tuesday the team has agreed to terms with a 3-year contract ELC with the striker Florian Xhekaj. The latter also signed a PTO allowing him to finish the 23-24 season with the Laval Rocket. He'll join the team on the trip to Cleveland. Age 19, Xhekaj scored 34 goals and added 31 assists in 63 games played this season with the Brantford Bulldogs in the OHL, in addition to registering 5 points in 6 playoff games. The 6'4", 190-pound left winger was selected by the Canadiens in the 4th round of the 2023 NHL Entry Draft. Now here's the thing about Florian Xhekaj. Yeah, by the way, the Laval Rocket also posted about this too, that they've signed him to a PTO, allowing him to join the Laval Rocket for the remainder of the 23-24 season, so he'll be out there doing his thing. But here is the thing about Florian Xhekaj. It's the fact that if you take away his last name, if you say, okay, he's not a Xhekaj, like, he'll just be a random 4th-round guy taken by the Canadiens who's big, 6'4", not 6'2", as elite prospects goes out there and lists, but 6'4". Let's just say he's a random 6'4" Canadiens dude that was drafted in the 4th round. This kind of point production and this progression from 25 points in 68 games to 65 points in 63 games, that's huge. Like, quite literally, it's a huge increase in overall production, and when you talk about what Florian Xhekaj did in the postseason, he had 5 points in 6 games played, really stood up when the team needed him the most. This was a really good progression for a guy that just so happens to be the brother of the Sheriff and one of the most beloved Montreal Canadiens this year. Never mind the fact that he is a Xhekaj, he's a pretty good prospect, and somebody that going from 25 points to 65 in a season, especially as a 4th-round pick, I could totally understand why the Canadiens gave this guy a contract. Now, you could say there's room for debate as to whether or not he's the best guy to get it, and whether or not he actually deserves it, whatever, but 4th-round picks rarely get to a point where you're even considering them as potential NHL options in the future anyway. So, the fact that Florian Xhekaj is going to be heading over to Laval, he most likely will have some success. Like, I don't think he's going to be a bum. Like, he's good enough and he scores enough goals where it's like, yeah, he's going to be useful for the Laval Rocket. It's to a point now where once we start thinking about NHL projectability, which is easy to do since he's only 19 years old and he progressed this nicely already, that's a pretty good get for a guy in the 4th round. Like, never mind the fact that he's Xhekaj's brother, he happens to be good. So, this is a really nice update to see out of one of the most underrated prospects the Canadiens have had in a while. I mean, you take a look at his playoff stint, he had 5 points in the opening game, which admittedly kind of bolstered up his point production and made things a little bit misleading. Actually, I don't know what's going on here. Elite Prospect says 5 points in 6 games in the playoffs. Oh no, I'm an idiot. I am an idiot. Yeah, no, the Bulldogs got eliminated in 5. This is the playoffs right here. These final 2 games were in the regular season. Okay, yeah. Okay, that's what happened. Or maybe this one was too. Excuse me. Yeah, 6 games played. So they won game 1, and then they won game 5, but then they lost games 2, 3, 4, and 6. So that was it. This 5-point game is not a part of the postseason, unfortunately. But he did go out there and do that. He had 2 goals and 3 assists to end off the OHL season. So good for Florian Xhekaj to get things done. We'll see, of course, next year what happens. He'll sign this PTO for the Laval Rocket. He'll play out the season with Laval, but then once next season comes around, he's going to be 20 years old. He'll still be eligible to play in the OHL, so he'll probably get another season over there. But Before we get over into the Xhekaj-Laval conversation, we also have to talk about his brother Arbor, because when it comes to Arbor Xhekaj, Arbor Wi-Fi, the sheriff as they've been saying around town, we did have ourselves some news from the Montreal Canadiens that he will undergo season-ending surgery to his left shoulder tomorrow. He is expected to be ready for next season. And this is fine. You know, everybody is giving good wishes, which is good, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, the Montreal Canadiens are not strangers to doing this, to shutting guys down, giving them season-ending surgery, and just waiting till next year to give them another opportunity to bite back. We had seen last year a whole bunch of guys, from Cole Caulfield to Juraj Slafkovsky, take some extended time off and have season-ending procedures done, and we had to wait until next season for them to come back, and it was really bad for the Montreal Canadiens because last year, I mean, it was just injuries galore for everybody. You go over to the Habs 22-23 roster and you see how many games played these guys had. Yeah, there was only 2 guys who had played over 70 games and 1 guy who'd played all 82. And everybody else, I mean, Savard had 60, Doc had 58, Drouin had 58, Xhekaj 51, Matheson 48, Caulfield 46, Slafkovsky was all the way down there too with 39. So lots of injuries going around with the Canadiens. This is a strategy they know is effective and they're not afraid to do it again. So for Arbor Xhekaj, all we can do is hope for a speedy recovery and a big bounce back for next season. This is pretty good because now, I mean, Laval had themselves the first Arbor earlier in the season. Now they're getting themselves the second Xhekaj. Or did I say first Arbor? I meant first Xhekaj, yeah. It gets kind of confusing when you got 2 guys with the same last name and who happen to be brothers. But either way, this is the roster that Florian is going to be joining, and with this contract that he has signed starting out in 24-25, he will be a Montreal Canadiens prospect on tap till the end of 2027, with potential ELC sliding down years too. So if you're a fan of the Laval Rocket, if you're a fan of the the Brantford Bulldogs. Yeah, I had to pause myself there. Not the Hamilton Bulldogs. If you're a fan of the Bulldogs, what are your thoughts on how Florian Xhekaj has progressed, and what are your expectations for him heading into the Laval Rocket season? I honestly don't think he'll be like a top-line player in Laval or anything, but like, I don't expect him to be bad. Like, I don't think he's going to be a bum. I'd be surprised kind of if he walked out of his Laval Rocket stint with like 0 points or whatever. Even Joshua the other year, we had seen him step into the AHL and do pretty well. Not saying that there aren't the same levels of offensive capabilities, but just kind of, you know, there are CHL prospects that tend to do well, and Florian Xhekaj, with his physical nature and his goal scoring, I'd expect him to be one of them. So we'll see what happens with Florian. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, how you think he's going to progress. Also, what are your thoughts on Arbor Xhekaj undergoing season-ending surgery? He is done for the year. What are your opinions about all this and more? Let me know in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.